Hello all, welcome to another important session with Career Talk channel. Today we will be discussing about an important topic for all the business analysts, that is business requirement document. So before getting into the video, I would request you all to like, share and subscribe our channel to create such more interesting content. So now without getting any delay, let's get into the video. So today we will be seeing about business requirement document. What is business requirement document? Why it is important? And through a case study, we will be discovering the various fields that need to be included in developing this BRD document. So what is BRD? Business requirement document is a starting point for any project. It basically describes the high-level business requirements that have been gathered in through various requirement elicitation techniques. So when this document is prepared? This document is prepared at the initial phase of the project. And who prepares this document? This document is prepared by the business analyst or the customer based on the organization. And why this document is prepared? This document is prepared to this document is prepared to outline the expectations of the customer and the solution that we will be providing to the customer based on the customer problem statement. And at any point while developing the project, this requirement document would be very important to look back and see what are the solutions that we have promised to the customer in solving his problem statements. And who uses this document? This document is used by high level and mid level managers. And when this document is basically prepared at the point in waterfall model. And it doesn't mean that we don't prepare this document in agile methodology, but it would be in the form of an epic structure in agile projects. So let's see what the example or case study, how this BRD is prepared. So let's think that we are developing an app. Say that we all know it's very important for us to get vaccinated in the time of COVID, and while it's very required to enter any mall or movie theaters to get before entering any mall or theater, it is important to get vaccinated so that the COVID is not spread across. So let's think that we are developing an app where when a person gets vaccinated, he has to just show that app, just shows a QR code in the app, and when the merchandise scans that code and gives an update that the person is vaccinated and not, and based on his vaccination status, the person is allowed to enter into the mall. So let's assume that this project is already developed in iOS version, and now we need to develop it as an Android version. So what are the, I'm just giving you the background of the project so that while discussing the BRD, this would be very important for you. And so which elements which would go under which section. So the few points we need to consider in the while developing this BRD document is, let's think that this is the first screen which we see here. It's basically the user screen which you are seeing here, and this is the code which you need to scan when you enter into the any mall or any movie theater, and the merchandise will scan this code. And then when he scans, based on this when he scans, it gives a status whether you are vaccinated or not. And suppose you have a child or a people or any other family member under 18 years, or who under 18 years, then they should be a, they could be added to your home screen and see their vaccination status as well. So this is a screen which we have to add a person who is under 18 years. So these are different conditions which we have to keep in mind while developing the app. And this has actually has a QR code which is valid only for 30 seconds. And you can see that over refreshes for every 30 seconds. So, and the one more thing is, how is this, just a background of the project, like, when a person gets vaccinated, you would be getting a doubt how the profile is created. The profile is created, we would develop an app, say that Covaxin app. When they install the app, all our the user IDs, the government IDs are linked to our app. And when we enter our government ID, it shows whether the ID is validated, whether the person is major or minor. And if he's a major, the profile would be created, and if he's a minor, the profile would say it cannot be created, the account is rejected. So in that way, first verification process takes place and the account is created. Once the account is created, so when we go for vaccine, all the doctors, there are pharmaceutical companies which give vaccines, which manufacture the vaccines, and each vaccine has a unique code. And when that vaccine has given the code, when the vaccine is taken by particular person, that ID is matched to the QR code which is given by the doctor. So as soon as they get vaccine, they open this and they enter the ID, and the QR code is generated. So this is a brief overview how the account is created, and what are the solution, what is the solution we are giving for various merchandisers to run their business at the time of COVID, so that they can run safely, they can operate safely by entering only the persons having a COVID vaccinated. So this is a brief overview of the project. So let's see how we can develop a business requirement document for this project. So this is a business requirement document which we need to develop. So this is the normally we use a Word document for writing a business requirement document. First, we write the project name. Here, the project name is given Covaxin, and next you have another section where you have versions and approvals. So you have various versions over there, and you mentioned the version number and the date when that version is changed, and the author who has been writing that. And when you send for approvals, there would be many changes happening. Some would say that we don't require this document, this requirement. Some would say this is out of scope of the project. So when you send even to the customer, the senior management for the approval of the various requirements while accepting the project, you would be knowing whether we are accepting those requirements, or there is any change of the requirements, or is there any change in the scope of the project that we are accepting. So in that way, we mention the reason for change, and then we take the version number over here. To maintain that, we need versions and approvals. And then the next section is various contents that we would be having in your business requirement document. So, and what are the various it's like executive summary, the process overview, what all contents you are giving in your requirement document would be another section. And now the executive summary. So executive summary is like giving a high level picture of the project. It's like, why are you accepting this project, and what is the benefit out of that you get, and what is the problem statement, and what is the solution you are giving for this project, for the problem statement of the customer. So in our case, it's like various pharmaceutical industries would be developing a Covaxin, and they are trying to develop a mobile app where to know when the person is vaccinated. It shows the status of the vaccination of the person, and um, what actually it helps both the merchandisers and the customer, so in order to eliminating the ad hoc process at the time of pandemic situation. So now this is a high level executive summary which we give, and then we give the project details. Project details are nothing but the project name, the project type. So here the project name is Covaxin, and then project type is a new initiative for Android application. Then we discuss when we are going to start, the project start date and the project end date. The project sponsor is who is sponsoring the project, and what are the different drivers for your project, the primary driver and the secondary driver. What made you to accept this project actually? So those are the drivers which you need to mention over here. And project manager, who is handling the project, would be the we need to mention them as well. And now and then it's the project overview. So the project overview gives you, basically what all you are going to deliver in this project. So this the what you need to in our project we say we are going to create a solution design for the problem statement that has given. And then this document can also be used for creating test cases and test scenarios, and test plans as well. And then after looking the project, it gives you the determine the project completion when you're going to complete this project. And also it helps in assessing the project success. It means that once you design this document, you can see the feasibility of the what all the requirements that can be delivered, and it helps in assessing the project success. So then you need to give the various objectives. Here the objective is to design a mobile app that can generate a QR code and help in determining the vaccination status of the uh, um, person that get of the user who has been vaccinated. And next section would be the various stakeholders. Now the stakeholders are nothing but the group of people who are actively or directly or indirectly engaged in your project. They can be all the people who are affected by the project. It could be the users, the end customers who are using the project, and various people involved in the developing the project. So the company, basically the company. So here ABC Technology is a company that developing this project. So they are the one of the stakeholders. And then you have a mobile development team, Covaxin. So that the another team, they are the stakeholders. And then the users who download the app, and the doctors who register with the app, and the pharmaceutical companies who are manufacturing the the vaccines, the hospitals, the developers, and the QA team, solution architects, design architects, project managers, and the government. When you're launching this app in a Play Store or anywhere, you have certain legal and contractual conditions that need to be satisfied. So you should, as a business analyst, even you have to make sure that the app is being developed as per the legal and contractual conditions of the government. And so even so they are also the stakeholders of the project. So we need to identify various internal and external stakeholders of the project as well, so that identifying the stakeholders would be good at the starting of the project. It helps us to reach out when any problem arises, or while developing a the project. If any problem arises, it's easy and handy for us to go back to stakeholder section and see whom to contact at what point. So identifying the stakeholders is very important. And then we need to mention the risk. What are the risks that we are taking in while accepting this project? So in our case, we need to see that we know all the pharmaceutical companies need to develop when we are developing an app, we are developing a Covaxin app. So we have to tie up all the pharmaceutical companies that are manufacturing this vaccinations, so that we get, as we know, there is a unique ID that need to be mapped to the customer while getting vaccinated. And we also have to map all the doctors as well. So there is a strong dependency on the pharmaceutical companies and the doctors for the initial phase itself, to for the user to get registered and get the status updated. So and then we need to convince all the merchandisers to make use of our app, so that, because they if we take any book my show, or any airlines, we have many apps, so they would be using already their apps, and we have to convince them to make our app integrated with their apps, or use our app to know the status of the vaccination. So there are strong dependencies and the conditions which we have to consider while accepting this project, and even while developing the solution as well. And then if now let's consider the app as our country specific. Okay, so there are various, if we want to venture into the other country, then we need to have a strong government support over there, and their government IDs should be mapped to the our app in order to get them registered at the first point itself. So there are various risks that we need to consider, and all these risks needs to be documented in this document as well. So limitations, so the limitations is a section where we say that these are not part of our project and we cannot do that. Okay, so I mean, we cannot take we cannot continue to develop in this particular phase or in this particular version. Maybe we would require another upgrade of this app to include those features. So we need to mention them before itself, to make sure that the customer is aware what are the features that are going to be implemented in this particular version of the app. So let's say now the COVID vaccination is is only valid for 3 years, then, and valid for 3 years, that needs to be reminded. Again, the app needs to generate a new QR code after 3 years. And there should be a reminder sent to the customer. So these are few limitations which we can consider while developing this app. Okay, so the limitations part is also very important, to make sure that all the stakeholders and the customer to aware what are the different features or solution, what are the different requirements that we would be delivering. And next, assumptions. Assumptions is that we need to make few assumptions while developing this product. In order to develop any product, we would make few assumptions to make sure that that project is going to be success. So in our case, let's assume, as I said, the doctors need to provide a slip with a QR code to make sure that when they scan that QR code, and the status of the person is updated, whether he's vaccinated or not. So we will assume that the doctors, the Covaxin, the mobile app team, and the Covaxin team has already have a network of doctors, so that to give the QR code. And they also have a network of they also have the network of team, pharmaceutical companies who have already accepted that they would be using this mobile app, and the vaccination ID is mapped with this particular pharmaceutical vaccine ID that being developed. So and so we also assume that they also have already approached few merchandisers and airlines or whatever may be the entertainment apps, like Book My Show, whatever may be these apps. They already have approached those kind of businesses and make sure that they would be using these apps. And so these are the some of the assumptions, and we have different databases over here. It is like, we have to make sure that government ID database and the vaccinated, the pharmaceutical vaccines database. There is an integration which actually happens, and when the user registered, this ID is mapped to the government ID of the user who is being vaccinated with that particular ID. So that integration and mapping is also necessary. So there are few assumptions which we need to make sure, which we need to make this project success. So even those assumptions should be mentioned in the document to make sure what are we assuming and what we are not assuming, so that that gives a clear picture for any team to go ahead and develop the solution. And the next is a project scope. So we should be very, this document clearly shows, what is our scope and what is not our scope. What are the requirements that we will be developing. Here we have two screens that need to be developed. One is merchandise screen and the other is a user screen. So these are the two screens which we need to be developed, and that would be in our scope. And there is a thing, there is an action that QR code needs to be, needs to be refreshed for every 30 seconds. That is in our scope. And then if a person is below 18 years minor, their profile cannot be created, and that is in our scope. And this 18, the person's profile who's 18 years should be mapped to the guardian's profile. So so these are the few things that we say that we are in, and these are in our scope. And there is a linkage of database between the government ID database and the pharmaceutical companies database. There is an integration required, mapping required. So these are the few things that are that need to be, considered in the scope of the project. And there are few things which are out of the scope. We make sure that these are the things which are not in our scope and we will not be developing in our project. That is like the doctors need to give a QR code sample, QR code slip along with the vaccination they get. So that is not in our, scope. And for every 3 years the QR code it's like our credit card validity. Let's think that our credit card expires after 3 years, then the new credit card needs to be issued. So till now we in this phase of the project we are just accepting till 3 years the validity of the QR code, and the generation of the QR code would be happening. And what's the point after the 3 years? So maybe that would be in the future versions of the project, or enhancements of the project. So we think that that is not in our scope. And next is integration of, as I said, every merchandise would be having their own application. Let's say Book My Show, they have their own application. PVR has their own application. And everyone, even SpiceJet would have their own apps. So integration of these merchandise apps with our Covaxin app would not be in our scope. That would be something enhancement that might required in the later of the, in later versions of the project. So in the later versions of the product, as of now, we are not taking them in our scope. So these are the some things which are out of the scope and that need to be mentioned. So these are the different, and then you come to the, so as I said, business requirement is basically shows us the high level requirements. So what are the, what are high level requirements? One is creating a welcome screen, saying that as soon as you download the app and you see a screen, that is a welcome screen saying that hello message. So you have an option of creating an account, and then integration of customer database and merchandise app, and then ability to provide login access to the child account. and to generate the QR code. QR code should be refreshed for every 30 seconds. And as the vaccine is valid for 3 years, at the end of third year, the notification should send to the customer, your vaccination is expiring and there is a need for you to get revaccinated. So these are the few high level requirements which we need to mention. And this shows that what are the high level goals that the customer would be accepting from the project. So once the requirements is done, we need to prioritize the requirements. This is what the business analysts need to do. Have various prioritization techniques like Masco and Cano analysis and $100 technique. So as this is a new project, it's not an enhancement project. If it is an enhancement, then we can go for $100 technique. As so this is a new project, we think of Masco analysis and then prioritize critical, high, medium, low requirements, so that which gives an idea for the team members to see on which requirements we need to concentrate fast. So these are the this section is very important to give a brief picture on what requirements are very critical and that are necessary for the project success. And then we have use case diagrams. Use case diagrams are very important in BRD. So these shows that various actors who are involved in the project and how do they interact with the system and what are the roles and responsibilities. So this gives us a pictorial representation of various requirements and interaction of user and the system. So we have two actors here. One is the customer, the user who downloads the app, and how this use case diagram shows how he interacts with the our mobile app. And the other one is a merchandise how a merchandise user, how he reacts with the user with the mobile app. So there are this use case diagram gives a pictorial representation, what are the various roles and responsibilities, and what are various requirements that each user needs to be satisfied in the project. And then we have a process flow diagram. This diagram shows that the entire process flow of the solution, what's happening in the from end to end process, and helps in gives a clear picture how the data flows and how which user comes under which step and how do they interact and various steps that are necessary to complete the process. So as we see here, when the doctor is provided with a when the customer first the customer he has to register with the app, then go to the doctor for vaccination. After vaccination, he has to scan the QR code. Here where the doctor comes and he gives in the QR code. Once the QR code is given, then he needs to open by entering his mail. Already he would have registered, and then after registering, is the vaccination date not expired? Once the vaccination date is expired, then he needs to go to the doctor for the vaccination. That is, I said, for every 3 years, which happens. And if it is not expired, then it generates a QR code. And once the QR code is generated, when he goes to any merchandise, he can scan. Once it is scanned and shows the vaccinated, then customer enters, else the customer cannot enter, and it's an end. He cannot enter into the mall. So this is a simple process which shows how our solution works and what is the process that can be carried out. What is the process that is being carried out? So business rules, the last section is business rules. Business rules explains the constraints or constraints that are needed, that need to be considered while developing this project. So as I said, the government ID to be mapped. So here individuals with no government ID cannot register with the app. And then QR code generated cannot be shared. Okay, as I said, the QR code, once you get registered with the app, the QR code is as soon as you open the app, the QR code is generated. And when the QR code is generated, it cannot be shared to the others, because the vaccine, it's linked with the ID, and then the government ID and the pharmaceutical ID, and the QR code also um, uh, expires for every 30 seconds, so it cannot be shared. You will not that have option of shade. So these are and then QR code should not be valid for more than 30 seconds. Application should not produce QR code beyond the vaccination expiry date. As I said, the vaccination is a vaccination is valid only for 3 years. So right from the date of your vaccination, the QR code would be generating for till 3 years, and after 3 years, you would not be able to generate the QR code. So and then time limit of the verification process need to be finalized. It's like, as soon as you open the QR code, how much time? 30 seconds it's valid. In the same way, the merchandise app also, you should have a time limit, so that how can in how much time he needs to be valid, and the QR code needs to be scanned and then verified. So app should not take more than 5 seconds to open. So this is something that needs to, as soon as you open the app, it should not take more than 5 seconds to open. So these are the few business rules which we can consider. And then this is very important to make sure to make sure that we address all the constraints before starting the project itself. And next is the future enhancements. As I said, every merchandise have their own app. So there is an enhancement for this. We can plan for an enhancement where we can integrate our app with the merchandise app. And then once the QR code is generated, moving QR code to generated instead of static ones. It's like, when you open, it's as we see some of the videos, kind of a QR videos, some kind of a videos or something, we can provide such kind of an enhancements instead of giving a static code. So this would be an enhancement, and this would be more secured one, which we can think of in our future enhancements. So future enhancements also are very important, so that the customer can know how far what are the different expectation, what are the different enhancements that he can give in future to the customer, to the users who are using this app. So and what else we can provide to the customer from our company. So in that way, future enhancements is also very important to mention. So these are different sections that we see in building a BRD document based on the project. So hope everyone has liked this session. Thank you so much.